In today's passage, we find that God is the greatest power, that he uses his power to overcome seemingly insurmountable circumstances, and that he does this for the purpose of glorifying himself. In verse 10, God said that he would arise to defend Judah, and he gives his purpose for doing so. He said, "Now I will be exalted." But what does it mean for God to exalt himself? In what way is God lifted up? God is exalted in that he is demonstrated to be higher than, or better than, mankind. Humans tend to think that there is nothing better than themselves. We tend to think that we are the smartest things in the universe, that we will be the solution to every problem, that if we don't solve it by our own greatness, then no one else will. We like to think that we are the ones with the knowledge and the power and the agency. Sometimes it is in the best interest of humanity that we be taken down a notch and be forced to recognize that there is a higher power. We need to recognize that we don't know everything and we can't do everything. We need to recognize that God is greater than us, smarter than us, more knowledgeable than us, and stronger than us. Judah needed a dose of that. For too long, as in the reign of Hezekiah's father Ahaz, Judah had served what they perceived to be Judah's interests and not Jehovah's interests, and for that a disaster was coming. Sennacherib's invasion had arrived. As we read in today's passage, the valiant men of Judah were crying out in the streets. There would be bloodshed for Judah's sins. But this bloodshed would have a purpose. The wicked of Judah would be removed. Judah would be purged, and those who remained would recognize their own inability to rescue themselves without the help of the higher power of God. Even if only in this, God would be exalted. But God would not only be exalted in that the weak people of Judah would recognize him as having a power greater than theirs. What even does that matter? To be stronger than these weak people. Such means little. No, God would glorify himself by being greater not only than the weak, but also greater than the strong. The Assyrians were the strongest military in the world at that time. Defeating Assyria seemed impossible. It seemed so impossible that Judah hired the Egyptians to come and help them with it, and even Egypt turned tail and ran. The whole world was watching this campaign. We've discussed how historians in other nations, like the Greek Herodotus, wrote about the surprising outcome, and such was by design. God intended to defeat the strongest army in front of the entire world to demonstrate his greatness to them. Today's passage says in verse 13, "Hear, you who are far off, what I have done, and you who are near acknowledge my might." And so this is what God did. He first raised up and allowed the seemingly unbeatable army to march across the map, trampling the other nations and their false gods, and then, having shown the weakness of the other gods and the strength of the Assyrians, he bested the Assyrians, demonstrating to the whole world his strength. For this, Judah would glorify him. They would recognize him for who he is. They would be set in their place, and I have no doubt that many others all across the known world also gave Jehovah glory for this. And for my second application, I want to note the lesson taught in verses 14 through 16, namely that if you want to have God's provision and not his wrath, you should be righteous and do justice. This is a lesson we've discussed many times, and so I won't devote too much time to it, but it is a lesson which the Scriptures teach often, and the Scriptures teach the lesson often for a reason, and so I will reiterate it here. God is not tolerant of sin. He hates sin. He punishes it. Those who live in sin are not welcome in the presence of God. Now, thanks be to God, Jesus Christ died for our sins so that we can have his righteousness when we stand before God. Thankfully, he does not judge us as we deserve, but grants us forgiveness for our sins. But be that as it may, sin is still sin. It is still harmful. It still carries with it consequences, both natural and supernatural. We should not expect for God to bless us if we ignore his principles and live in our own way. So who will stand in the presence of God? Who will receive his divine support? It will be those who are righteous in their actions and in their speech. So I want to urge you to be one of those people. Be a person who takes God's law and its right application seriously. Do not be a factious respecter of persons who gives rewards to the evil because they are part of your club, or who reviles the good because they are not part of your club. Do not accept a bribe to twist the truth. Do not harm the righteous. Instead, obey the law. Apply the law evenly, whether or not you know the party, whether or not you benefit personally. Help the good. Punish the wicked. If you will do such as this, then you will have God's support.